Picture the scene. It's the night of March 4th, 2026. You're just driving down Highway 101 in Southern California.
Right, just a normal night.
Exactly. It's dark, traffic is steady, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, a black BMW comes just tearing down the southbound lanes.
And it's not just speeding, right? It's like completely erratic.
Oh, it's terrifying. We're talking violent swerves, drifting across multiple lanes, just slamming on the brakes for absolutely no reason.
I mean, you'd reach for your phone to call 911 immediately.
Yeah, and you wouldn't be the only one. Dispatch is getting flooded with calls from terrified drivers who almost got sideswiped. So finally, the flashing lights of the California Highway Patrol cut through the dark. But, and this is wild, the car doesn't even pull over right away.
There's that tense delay, right? Like 15 seconds of just waiting.
Exactly. It finally halts. The officer walks up, the window rolls down, and they realize the driver behind the wheel is one of the most famous women in the world, Britney Spears.
Which is just, I mean, the cameras flashed, the crowd froze, and just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today's deep dive is a big one. We're looking directly at the headline, What the Police Found when they pulled over Britney Spears in March.
Yeah, we have a massive stack of sources today. We're talking police dashcam footage, the actual 911 dispatch audio, court records, toxicology reports.
All of it. And our mission today isn't just to gawk at a celebrity scandal, you know. We want to piece together exactly what happened that night.
Right, because there's a really surprising legal outcome here.
Mm-hmm.
And it reveals so much about the messy, complex reality of her post-conservatorship life. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it. So the timeline itself is where things get really complicated because the dashcam footage, it completely defies standard traffic stop expectations.
It really does. Like, the officer approaches the vehicle and they immediately document red, watery eyes and the distinct odor of alcohol.
Right, which means standard procedure is you ask the driver to step out of the car.
But she doesn't. According to the investigation report, there is a 10-minute standoff, 10 minutes where she just outright refuses to exit the vehicle.
And the language she uses is so specific. She tells the officers she feels invaded. She keeps saying she's being pranked and harassed.
Yeah, she even asserts what she called her right as a woman not to exit her vehicle, which is, I mean, it's just bizarre.
It signals this profound state of hyperdefensiveness and paranoia. And, you know, for law enforcement, when a suspect refuses to exit a vehicle, the tension naturally escalates. The unpredictability factor just skyrockets.
Oh, for sure. But then, and this is the part that feels like a dark Hollywood satire, the conversation takes a completely surreal turn.
You lead swings, right?
Yes. She stops arguing about her rights and just starts complaining about the highway traffic.
Yeah.
So the officers, who are clearly trying to de-escalate, they gently offer to drive her up the road where it's less busy.
And her response is just unbelievable.
I have the direct quote right here. She literally says to the highway patrol, "I'll make you food or lasagna or whatever you want. I have a pool."
I mean, wow, lasagna and a pool party on the side of Highway 101.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny in a way, but it's also, this is a real human being in profound distress.
Exactly. And from a law enforcement perspective, that rapid oscillation going from combative paranoia to inappropriately casual hospitality, that is a massive red flag.
Because it shows she's disconnected from reality.
Yes, exactly. You are sitting on the shoulder of a major highway surrounded by flashing police lights, and your brain is processing it as a casual social encounter.
And the mood swings didn't even stop there. The officers noted she went from being argumentative, even speaking in a British accent at times, to just a full-on crying spiral.
The reality of the arrest finally sets in.
Yeah. She starts sobbing, begging the officers not to leave her alone, asking for someone to just sit with her in the cruiser. So I have to ask, when someone is exhibiting these extreme whiplash mood swings, how do authorities distinguish between standard intoxication and a genuine mental health crisis?
That is the ultimate challenge for a patrol officer, because a mental health crisis and chemical impairment, they often mimic each other, and honestly, they frequently overlap.
Right.
So law enforcement protocols dictate that you stop trying to clinically diagnose the psychology and you immediately secure the scene to look for physical evidence. You look for an external catalyst.
And what they found in that BMW painted a very dangerous picture. Sitting right in the center console cup holder was an empty wine glass.
Just an empty wine glass right there in the open.
Yeah. And then in her brown purse, They found a bottle of pills labeled Adderall that was not actually prescribed to her.
Which completely shatters the narrative she was giving them, because throughout the stop, she was making these bold, contradictory claims.
Oh, totally. At one point, she tells them she is a 0 on the sobriety scale. She admits she had a single champagne mimosa, but claims it was like 6 or 7 hours earlier.
But then, almost in the same breath, she boasts about her tolerance.
Yes. She says, I could probably drink 4 bottles of wine and take care of you. I'm an angel.
It's that false sense of invincibility. When someone is highly impaired, their brain tries to overcompensate by projecting grandiosity. They want to convince the cops and themselves that they are the ones in control.
But wait till you hear what came next, because this is the twist that genuinely confused me in the sources.
The breathalyzer results.
Right. So about an hour after the stop, they run 2 breathalyzer exams at the station. The results come back at .05 and .06. Both of those are under the legal blood alcohol limit of .08.
Yep, under the legal limit.
So if you blow under the limit, why the arrest? How does a DUI charge stick? Isn't the .08 limit the definitive line?
So that is a very common misconception about driving under the influence. The legal definition isn't strictly tethered to hitting that .08 number.
It's not.
No. That number is what we call a per se DUI, meaning if you hit it, you are legally presumed impaired, period. But the fundamental question the law actually asks is this person's ability to operate a motor vehicle safely diminished by alcohol, drugs, or a combination of both?
Okay, so it's like baking. You might have perfectly legal, normal ingredients in your kitchen like baking soda and vinegar, but if you mix them together in the wrong container, you get an explosion.
That is a perfect analogy, because she admitted to taking a literal cocktail of prescription drugs that day.
Yeah, the sources list 200 milligrams of Lemitol, which is a mood stabilizer,
Right.
40 milligrams of Prozac, a well-known antidepressant, and 2.5 milligrams of Adderall.
Right. And Prozac and Lamictal are daily prescriptions meant to keep her stable. But when you introduce alcohol into that specific environment, it fundamentally disrupts how those medications metabolize.
Wow, so it's the combination that forced the legal system to intervene?
Exactly. Let's break down the chemistry here. Adderall is a central nervous system stimulant. Lamictal decreases abnormal electrical activity in the brain. Prozac alters serotonin. And then you add alcohol, which is a powerful central nervous system depressant.
So it's like driving a car where the medications are pressing the gas pedal, but the alcohol is simultaneously yanking the emergency brake.
Spot on. Alcohol compromises your liver's ability to process those medications. And meanwhile, the stimulant effect of the Adderall masks the sedative effect of the alcohol.
Oh, so she doesn't actually feel drunk.
Right. Her brain doesn't feel the sluggishness, which gives her that false invincibility where she claims she could drink 4 bottles of wine. But neurologically, her motor skills and reaction times are severely impaired. The car is spinning out of control, even if the engine thinks it's cruising normally.
That is terrifying. And if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed, because we have even crazier stories ahead. But that chemical collision, it didn't just trigger an arrest, it triggered a massive reality check.
It really did. It forced a complete shift in her strategy.
Yeah, so she is booked into the Ventura County Main Jail around 3 a.m., released a few hours later. But instead of fighting the charges publicly, the sources show a massive pivot. By April 12th, she voluntarily checks herself into a rehab facility.
And the driving force behind that is really striking.
Yeah, 2 major factors. First, she was reportedly, quote, terrified of jail. And second, her teenage sons, Sean Preston and Jaden James, actually stepped in. They pushed her to get healthy.
Which is such a profound role reversal, seeing young adult children guide their parent toward accountability, but legally speaking, that intervention was the smartest move she could have possibly made.
Because it completely changed her May court date. Her attorney, Michael A. Goldstein, secures this incredible plea deal. The misdemeanor DUI charges dropped entirely.
Wow, completely dropped.
Yeah, reduced to a reckless driving involving alcohol. 0 jail time.
So what was the actual sentence?
She gets 12 months of informal probation, a $571 fine, a mandated 3-month DUI education program, and a stipulation that she has a diminished expectation of privacy in her car.
Okay, that last detail, the diminished expectation of privacy, that is a severe condition. It basically means she waives her Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure while driving.
Oh, wow. So if they pull her over.
They do not need probable cause to search her vehicle or demand a sobriety test for the next 12 months. For someone constantly surveilled by paparazzi, that is a highly restrictive legal leash.
But I know what you're thinking as you listen to this, because I wondered the same thing. Is this just classic celebrity privilege?
It definitely looks like it at first glance.
Right. I mean, you drive erratically, nearly sideswipe cars, refuse to exit for 10 minutes, have an open wine glass and unprescribed pills. Would an average everyday person really avoid jail time just by checking into rehab?
The optics definitely invite skepticism, but looking at the Ventura County District Attorney's protocols, this outcome is actually surprisingly standard.
Wait, really? For anyone?
Yeah. To qualify for a wet, reckless reduction, prosecutors look for a first-time offender with a low blood alcohol content. She blew a .05 and 0.05 and .06, which fits. And most importantly, there was no crash and no injury.
So just the fact that she didn't actually hit anyone saved her.
Legally, yes. The justice system differentiates heavily between the potential for harm and actual harm. Plus, former prosecutor Bobby Tagavi offered some great insight here. He pointed out that judges highly favor proactive accountability.
Which is the rehab stint.
Exactly. By checking into an inpatient facility voluntarily, she showed the court she acknowledged the problem before a judge forced her to. It's not a free pass, but it hands the defense attorney the exact leverage needed for a lighter sentence.
That makes a lot of sense. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because we need to talk about the most complicated part of this entire deep dive.
The psychological reality.
Yes. The person at the center of that dashcam footage. Following the arrest, her reps called the incident completely inexcusable. But the quote that really anchors this whole story came from Matthew Rosengart.
The lawyer who helped free her from the conservatorship back in 2021?
Exactly. He simply said, "With freedom comes responsibility."
Man, coming from the very guy who litigated her release, that is an incredibly heavy statement.
It perfectly captures the duality of her life right now. And you see it playing out on her social media. After rehab, she posts a video dancing alongside her son Jaden, telling fans to stay kind. It projects healing.
But then shortly after, there's the snake post.
Right. She shares a picture of a baby snake, talks about her spiritual journey, and admits, with this really surprising vulnerability, she says, "I still have to learn how to be kind to myself. It's a never-ending journey."
That is deeply self-aware. She is documenting the incredibly messy process of learning to navigate a world without guardrails.
It's almost hard to fathom. For 14 years, every micro decision was managed by a team of lawyers and family. Her money, career, medical care, daily schedule.
Even who she could associate with.
Right. To transition from that level of institutionalization to total autonomy, it makes me think of muscle atrophy.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, like if you put a healthy arm in a cast for 14 years, the muscle wastes away. When you finally saw the cast off, you can't just pick up a heavy weight. The arm will collapse. Decision-making and boundary setting are muscles, and hers were legally bound for over a decade.
That completely reframes the behavioral crisis on that dash cam. Autonomy is something we all crave, right? We want to author our own stories. But this situation tragically illustrates the heavy burden of consequence that comes attached to that freedom.
Because freedom isn't just the right to drive your own car.
No, it's the absolute necessity of bearing the consequences of your own mistakes. For 14 years, she was denied choices, but she was also insulated from the real-world consequences of failure.
So the conservatorship acted as this artificial barrier. And now that it's gone, she's facing the full force of the law, the terror of jail time, all on her own.
The transition from controlled captivity to a highly consequential reality is predictably turbulent.
It really fundamentally changes how you view that police footage. We started this deep dive looking at a terrifying scene. The swerving BMW, the panicked 911 calls.
The bizarre standoff.
Yeah. But as we peeled back the pharmacology and the psychological aftermath, we're left looking at a human being just trying to navigate a newly unscripted life.
And trying to rebuild those atrophied muscles under the glaring spotlight of public scrutiny.
Which brings us to a final thought I want you to mull over today. The conservatorship was ostensibly put in place to protect Britney from herself. But looking at this DUI incident, you really have to wonder, did that restrictive legal arrangement just stunt her ability to mature?
By removing her agency, it prevented her from learning how to fail on her own terms.
Exactly. It raises a profound question for all of us. How do we, as a society or as loved ones, balance giving people the absolute right to control their own lives with the moral obligation to provide a safety net when they inevitably stumble in the dark?
It is the ultimate tension between protection and respecting human agency.
It really is. Well, you've been listening to Starscope Report. where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.